Hey, true believers, today on our YouTube channel, we're going over X-Men 2099. And going through this book just makes me wish that I would have followed this series when it first came out back in the day. The print date on this was October 1993. Apparently the release date was August 93 because cover dates never matched what they were actually releasing. Now with this, we are in a dystopian state of Nevada. The Nevada desert, the Nuevo Sol arcology, rises from sand and scrub, a ghostly reminder of broken dreams of the past. Designed in the early 21st century to be a self-sufficient, non-polluting working and living environment, Nuevo Sol's construction was stopped by the economics and politics of that time, leaving it abandoned, unfinished. In the harsh reality of the present, Nuevo Sol once again offers the promise of redemption to the chosen few willing to accept the invitation and brave the challenge. And I just love this little bit of foreshadowing as this character walks up to the door of Nuevo del Sol or Nuevo Sols, and the X is just a nice little Easter egg. So we're following this character named Tim Fitzgerald, who eventually, from what I understand, becomes Skullfire, I think is his code name. And everything about it just screams that late 80s, early 90s dystopian attitude. Like you can feel a lot of like Judge Dredd, like 2000 AD style, a lot of Dark Horse stuff. And we know what early comics is not without its mandatory rave scene. Something you'd see like in Blade Runner or the first Blade movie, etc., so forth. Tim apparently has a lot of, emotional, not like, we don't really know from this issue, but he has a lot of baggage that he's basically turned himself into a misanthrope, just kind of avoids people. And he was not expecting to see this in Nuevo Sol. He was expecting this to be just an abandoned place. It says, burdened by guilt and shame, driven by restlessness he cannot explain. Now, suddenly overwhelmed by a concussion and blast of light, sound, and movement, he wonders if his solitary existence has finally pushed him over the edge and driven him insane. Now, the people working on this book, this is John Francis Moore, writer, Ron Lim, penciler, Adam Kubert, inker, Ken Lopez, letterer, Tom Smith, colorist, Joey Caldavari doing the editing, and Tom DelFalco was the editor-in-chief. So we got a big name cast on this series, and you can just see that Tim is just taken aback. He's like, I don't understand. Nuevo Sol is supposed to be deserted. And then here we meet, oh God, what is her name? Serpentina. Little on the nose. But she has a way of being able to read people, and she explains that I'm a mutant too. And she's like, they call me Serpentina. And she just wraps her arms around him, and he's like, please let me go. Just a great little introduction. Now, what kills me, I said this at the beginning, is I wish I would have picked up this series when it first came out back in the day, but hey, growing up where I did, 3 comic book shops popped up and have crashed. Never survived in a small town. Pissed me off. The only way that I knew about like Image Comics, stuff like this, was through Wizard magazine that I was able to pick up at the grocery store, as well before the direct market really kind of took over the whole industry. I was still able to buy comics here and there at local grocery shops, so that's how I was able to read a lot of like the Archie, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and keep up with Batman Nightfall, because they didn't really carry a lot of titles. So you, as a kid, you just grab what you can. And when someone would have a garage sale, like there was one dude up the street from me that was selling all his comics for $1. I bought them all. And that's how I was able to read that first Alpha Flight annual that we went over just a little while ago, where we see the first iteration of the Flight. Yeah, I wish I hadn't got rid of it, but thank God I got it. Anyway, sadly, no one ever had any X-Men 2099 or Doom 2099 or Punisher 2099, so anytime I see this stuff now, I grab it. Speaking of which, Eddie, this guy is cool. She's like, you see the syntho-percussionist? That's Eddie. He used to play with the Armageddon Choir. He creates rhythms by moving through vibration-sensitive webs of sound. They're regenerated by the resonators floating around him. Each of his choreographed movements trigger another sound variation. Now watch Eddie. He's a mutant. He has a metallic mimic ability. So each different form of metal that he takes makes different sound resonance. So he's able to make his own music in a way just by, kung fu fighting it. So to a degree, he kind of reminds me of Husk, where she was able to change her body to different densities and whatnot. So that's kind of a neat little homage to the past. Serpentina explains that their leader, Xian, is kind of bringing everyone together. Now there's the bad guy. It says here, dominating the neon-streaked Las Vegas skyline is the Singe Hotel and Casino, a temple of decadent excess where anything may be wagered and everything can be lost. And here's where we meet Singe. I can't remember his first name off the top of my head. Hold on. Yeah, I can't remember his name off the top of my head. But yeah, he's part of, he runs the Greater Nevada Syndicate, and you find that Xian has beef with him. He goes, your men continue to kidnap members of the nomad tribes for your decadent amusements. Your traffic in human lines is over, Singe. And he warns him, because if you seek to hurt my people, I will make you suffer. I have the power to destroy you and all of this. Consider this a warning, because next time will be a declaration of war. And what I like about Xian, as we find out later in the book, is he takes his teachings. He says we learned peace and unity through Xavier and the ways of combat through Magnus. So I just love that little callback to how these X-Men came to be. But all is not well. These teammates, because of this dystopian future, have a lot of chips on their shoulder that they have to work through. So it's a lot of work that Xian, the leader, has to traverse. Now, what I love is halfway through, because this is the first issue, so of course they have to promote the other books, but halfway through, as we're meeting another character, which I cannot remember his name off the top of my head. I think it's Crystallion. I think. But he's on the cover. He's the big red guy. But anyway, we take an interlude to enter the world of 2099. Now, when you see that, don't tell me that all of a sudden you start hearing like some late 80s like dystopian synth music going on and whatnot, and like all the lasers and lens flares, everything that you need to just represent that 90s vibe. And we get teases about, of course, Spider-Man, which we've gone over, and I just love Peter David writing on this book, because he gives Miguel just that enough threatening feel, as well as some dark humor. Like he says, he goes, did it, knocked him cold. Now I just snag him with my webbing before he winds up a bloody smear on. And he doesn't need to say anything else. And that's why the Miguel O'Hara is still a beloved character. We get Ravage 2099, which talks about New York and the mutates or mutoids or whatever they are. And then, of course, we get the great splash page of the X-Men 2099. This is Tim Fitzgerald once he starts utilizing his powers, which I do enjoy that through this, for the first, I think, 9 issues? I can't remember, because we went over issue 9, and I don't remember Tim rocking in a uniform yet. I like that John Francis Moore, in terms of the narrative, takes time for each character to kind of breathe and establish their own personalities, especially Mean Streak. He's a speedster, so in a sense, his personality, it's a mixture, very much a mixture of Remy LeBeau and Quicksilver. He's kind of got that mean streak, but he also kind of has this flair, like a Cajun flair to a degree. And then, of course, Cerebra Shikati, I think is how you pronounce her name, she very much reminds me of Storm. She tries to be the level-headed one of the group. But yeah, overall, guys, this issue, something happens with Xian and Singe that just starts to create a powder keg and starts the whole pushing of this series. Loved every minute of it, and God, I wish I would have got this when it came out, but I found this at my local comic shop the other day for $2, so hell yeah, I'm gonna grab that thing. So if you guys have enjoyed what you've seen, please, first and foremost, support your local comic shop or wherever it is you like to get your comics and action figures, etc., so forth, and grab a series, or see if they have any of the 2099s in collected trade. I do not know if they do or not, which if they do, awesome. If not, try to grab the singles while you can, guys, because surprisingly, these $20.99 titles, especially the Spider-Man ones, are starting to go like hotcakes. If you've enjoyed this review, we really would appreciate if you take a moment to like, share, and subscribe. Helps the club channel more than you could possibly know. And if you wouldn't mind hitting that fancy little shocking bell next to subscribe, that way as we continue to upload content, you guys get notified. Come to the channel, and we love talking with you and hearing your thoughts and feedback down in the comments below, or our social media pages, which I will make sure to leave the links down in the description. So with all that said, I hope you all continue to have an absolutely amazing day reading, and happy hunting, true believers.